Stress has such an impact on all of our lives, and a lot of time it's really not addressed or managed at all. As managers and leaders, you have such a responsibility towards the company, clients, and employees. All of this pressure can lead to stress, and today I would like to focus on the tools that will help you get through it. This lesson is going to look at stress management, the impact of stress, and how you can better manage your stress at your workplace and then bring that to your team. Welcome to today's lesson. You are in Module 3, Lesson 6. Our quote of the day starts with the following: "The greatest weapon against stress is the ability to choose one thought over another." Today's lesson is about stress management in the workplace. Our objectives include stress management explained and stress management tools that you can effectively use right now. Let's look at the different terms when it comes to stress management. Did you know 83% of US workers suffer from work-related stress? US businesses lose up to $300 million yearly as a result of workplace stress. Stress causes around 1 million workers to miss work every day. As we can see, it is not only affecting us, it's affecting businesses, and we need to understand how to manage stress more effectively, and also what businesses can do to support employees, managers, and create a better environment for all. Stress is your body's way of responding to any kind of demand or threat. When you sense danger, whether it's real or imagined, the body's defenses kick into high gear in a rapid, automatic process known as the fight or flight reaction, or the stress response. The stress response is your body's way of protecting you. Think of situations where you've really been stressed. Either you are ready to attack your defensive, you're angry, you don't want to deal with the stress, or your body shuts down. You feel tired, your body doesn't want to do this anymore. And all of these responses is because of stress. So let's look at some common causes of stress that we see in the workplace. Stress can be caused with the fear of being laid off. We can also see more overtime due to the staff cutbacks. When you have to work more and you feel added pressure, you feel the pressure to make money, you feel the pressure to take on more work because if you don't do it, who will do it? And all of this leads to more stress. Stress can also be caused by pressure to perform, to meet rising expectations, but with no increase in job satisfaction. And I see this a lot in high corporate jobs where people feel like they have these high expectations that they need to meet, but they don't have really rewards, incentives, and they don't feel like they're being recognized. So that can also lead to stress when you're pushing yourself so hard, but nothing is really coming from it. Pressure to work at optimum levels all the time, and I think we can all relate to this one, where you felt you've had to be on at every second of the day. The lack of control over how you do your work, and I want us all to make a note of this. If you're someone who micromanages, you may be causing stress to your employees. When you dictate how something needs to be done, it can cause a lot of stress. Because if we think back to Module 1, we see people with different personalities, different needs, different ways of perceiving things. So when there are managers or company leaders who dictate how things need to be done, it causes stress and pressure. So if you are someone who is guilty of doing this, then keep this in mind and look at your team. Are you unknowingly causing extra stress that doesn't have to be there? So next up, I have the types of stress that we find. According to Spacious Therapy, acute stress is actually brief. It is the most common and frequent type of stress that we find. Acute stress is most often caused by reactive thinking, negative thoughts mainly about situations or events that have recently occurred or upcoming situations. Things that are out of your control and that you are worrying about. For example, if you've recently been involved in an argument, you may have acute stress related to negative thoughts that are repetitive about that argument. Or you may have acute stress that is about an upcoming deadline at work and you're so stressed about how you're going to get this done. However, most often when thinking, acute stress is reduced or removed when the stress goes away. So maybe you meet that deadline, so the stress is no longer there, or you resolve the argument and you don't feel stressed about the situation anymore. People who frequently experience acute stress or those lives present with frequent triggers or stress have episodic acute stress. The individual who frequently suffers from acute stress often live a life of chaos and crisis. They always feel rushed and they have pressure to perform and get things done, or they overthink and they think about how people perceive them, how they could have reacted in a more appropriate way. So they take on many responsibilities and usually they do not stay organized with so many demands. So these type of individuals can feel like they have a lot of stress, they feel overloaded. So with this, there are two main personality types that frequently has this type of stress. We see the type A personality and the person who is the worrier. So type A personality is someone who is very competitive, very aggressive, impatient, needs to get everything done, needs to control everything around them, and they believe in structure. Everything has to be done in a certain way. So because they are controlling, they can feel really out of control when things are not as they have planned it. Then the worrier is someone who has a lot of negative thoughts. They stress about things that have not even happened or what could happen. And because of this, it comes up a lot. And lastly, we see chronic stress. And I think this one is extremely dangerous. So chronic stress is the most harmful type of stress. If the stress is left untreated over a long period of time, it can significantly damage your physical health and it can impact your mental health in a really bad way. For example, long-term poverty, repeated abuse in any form, unemployment, dysfunctional families, a poor work environment, substance abuse, an unhappy marriage, all of this can lead to chronic stress. Chronic stress can also set in when an individual feels hopeless. They don't see an escape, they don't see a way of getting over this stress or this situation. So it is recommended that if you are in a chronic stress situation, to seek help, to make sure that you are vocal about what is stressing you out, to determine if this is something that you can change. Can you switch jobs? Can you reduce your role? Can you start to delegate? Because you actively have to manage your chronic stress before it impacts your health in such a negative way. So let's look at some of the stress warning signs that can help you look at your current situation and extend that to your team. Identify when someone needs help. So when someone is feeling anxious, irritable, or depressed, when someone is apathetic, maybe they were so interested in work when they started, they asked a lot of questions, they wanted to be involved, and now you don't hear from them, you don't see emails, and when you do, they are not the same person. So keep an eye out for when someone loses interest in work. Problem sleeping. So I think we've all had this before when you've had a test or you had a deadline at work and you just could not sleep because your body is in such a fight or flight mode that you're struggling to relax and just get enough sleep. And then when you don't get enough sleep, you feel horrible the next day and you can't get anything done. So it's such a vicious cycle that when you stress, you can't rest and you can't actually recover to ultimately deal with the stress and get the things done that are stressing you out. So fatigue, again, not sleeping, trouble concentrating because you have so much to do, you're not resting, you're not eating, you are losing interest, and all of this leads to lower levels of concentration. You get tension headaches, you get muscle tension or headaches, and your body really doesn't feel well. A lot of people also mention that they get stomach problems. We can also see some people socially withdrawing. So keep an eye out. This is such a danger sign that when someone was comfortable in the team, but now they are socially withdrawing, it's time to check in with that employee, set up a way for them to manage their stress. So why is stress management so important? Well, effective stress management helps you break the hold stress has over your life, so you can be happier, healthier, and more productive. The ultimate goal is a balanced life with time for work, relationships, relaxation, and fun. and the resilience to hold up your pressure and meet challenges head on. But stress management is not a one size fits all. You have to experiment and find out what works for you. Maybe you're someone that has to get up at 5, go for a jog, come back, have a good meditation, and then you're ready for the day. Maybe you are someone that has to be creative. You have to create art in order to get those feelings out. And it's about getting to a point where you know what you need and allowing yourself to go get that. So let's look at how can companies improve stress management. As stress impacts a company in so many ways, if companies can set up practical ways for people to deal with stress, have programs in place, employees and managers and leaders will feel more supportive so that they can overcome stress and ultimately be more productive. So these are some of the best practices that companies have made use of to allow for better stress management in the work environment. A great way is to promote leave, to ensure that people are taking their yearly leave, that people are breaking it up into times when they need it, and also mental health days. So you can see someone is struggling, approach that person and ask them if they are thinking about leave and that you encourage them to do so. A lot of employees feel guilty or unsure and they don't know if leave is a correct way of dealing with stress. But if managers and leaders encourage it, a lot more employees will feel comfortable with taking the leave and the mental health days that they actually need. So some workplaces have created meditation spots in the office. Or in the morning, you can create meditation as a team, or in the afternoon, times when you see your team is stressed. So you can create meditation spots, and it's a great way to look at it within the work hours, and then that is something that you can teach your employees so that they can go home and do it by themselves. Next up, ensure the workload of your line employees is effective and that it is fair. If you overload people, they will not be able to do anything. So companies need to manage the workload that they give the employees, the resources that they give, and look at the abilities of the employee. If you have an employee and you don't give them enough resources, plus the person has no ability, no skills to actually do the workload, they're going to be stressed, overloaded, overworked, and they're not going to be productive. So that's why being proactive, looking at the amount of work you give them, do they have the skills or do they need upskilling? Do they need more training? And what resources do they need to be effective at being productive? Providing simulation and opportunities for workers to use skills. So when people feel overloaded with a certain project or they feel bored, giving them an opportunity to have a brain break, go check out something else, go relax, go try something that you're passionate about, gives people a bit of a relief at work. So think of ways that they can take a break, where they can come together, where your team can actually come together and do something fun in the middle of the day just for a few minutes to ensure that they have a break, an actual break to stop thinking about work, and then they can get back to their activities. So companies are boosting morale and creating opportunities for social interactions within the workplace. So this is things like workshops, social events, just giving people a tea break where you provide cakes and coffee where people can sit and socialize and not just talk about work. So maybe you can have a half an hour break where people can play a game where they get to know each other and they can ask people 5 questions, or they've been assigned to ask different things about things that they've read or things that they're currently doing, and you can have a list of questions on a board and they can go around each room, they can pick a number and find the correlating number with someone else. So you can be creative in thinking of ways that people can interact with each other more effectively in a way that is not just about what they're doing in their day, and it's not just about work. So let's look at some personal strategies for stress management. And again, this is for you as the manager and leader, but you can always take this to your team. Being realistic about deadlines, workload, and what needs to be done is so important. Because you are in a management or leadership role, it's easier to set deadlines and be realistic. But if you are an employee, this can be tough, because the person above you is setting your deadlines. So having open communication will help you a lot. Make sure that you're telling the person what is realistic, what is not, if you need support, if you need to move a deadline, if you need more resources, and why. Make sure that you are honest and not leaving everything until the end, the last few seconds. Then it crashes and burns and you feel so stressed and you just want to quit your job. This seems like such an easy one. Just take a lunch break. But people don't do it. Even at the companies that I've worked with, people take a 20-minute lunch, a 30-minute lunch, and I did not understand why. I've never understood it. You have to take your hour's lunch. I don't care what you do within that time, but give yourself a full hour. Go sit somewhere, go read, go watch Netflix. It doesn't matter. Eat something healthy, drink water, go move around. Even if you walk around for 10 minutes within that hour lunch break, you have to give your brain enough time to recover. If you have an 8 or 9 hour workday and you push yourself that entire time, you will burn out by the end of the week. Next, take short breaks. So I usually do this. For every hour that I work, I take a 15-minute break. And I've cleared this with my managers in the past because I cannot sit in front of a computer for 8-9 hours on a time. I don't find it productive, nor have I ever seen someone who does. So the idea is to take short breaks to give your brain enough time to relax, recover, and then you are productive for the next hour. So you can talk to your manager about different approaches that you can take here, or ask your team, what is the best way that you work? When are you the most productive? When do you need downtime? And when do you see yourself needing breaks? So again, taking time off, feeling comfortable enough to ask for time off, sick days, mental health days. Make sure that you are using your time off and not just leaving it to the end of the year. You can use it throughout the year to be strategic about when you need to recover and for how long. Go home on time. After your 8 or 9 hour day, go home. Do not take your work home with you. It adds more pressure at home. You're not switching off and then you're going to burn out. So leave work at work, and when you are at home, relax and enjoy your downtime. Be honest with your manager and those around you. If this is not working, if you are stressed, be honest. Speak up when you need help and from whom you need it. Be mindful about your body, about the way you react to stress, how you manage your time. So just be proactive. Think about these things. And you can even use your strategic thinking here. Think about what is working, what isn't working, and create a strategy for yourself. There are so many tools and techniques out there created for just this. The truth is that stress doesn't come from your boss, your kids, your spouse, traffic jams, health challenges, or other circumstances. It comes from your thoughts about your circumstances. So let's keep that in mind as we move on to the tools regarding stress management. Did you know 52% of Generation Z in the US have been diagnosed with mental health issues? That is a shockingly high number. Stress needs to be managed, and if that statistic doesn't scare you, it should. This is the next generation of people, and we need to create strategies within the workplace to help every generation, to help every employee, and create a long-term plan. Next, 57% of stressed out respondents are paralyzed by stress. People are getting panic attacks. People, fight or flight is kicking in, so they get sick. They can't go to work. Everything is crumbling around them. 63% of US workers are ready to quit their jobs due to stress. Again, people can only take so much, and I don't blame them. This is not something that's easy to deal with. So if you feel like you have a lot of stress and you don't feel supported, it's going to lead to you quitting, giving up, and not wanting to do it. That's why creating a stress management plan and being proactive will help you in the long term. So let's look at the role of managers and leaders when it comes to stress management. According to the Help Guide, consult your employees. Talk to them about the specific factors that makes their job stressful. Some things like failing equipment, being understaffed, or the lack of supervision and feedback can mean that employees feel stressed and they don't know who to tell. When you create a platform where people can vent, where people can be honest, it means that people can get some of that stress out and you can create plans. But you have to have a culture where that is encouraged, and you need to ask the employees to share the different things with you. So the best way to get feedback from employees is to have a private one-on-one meeting, and ideally face-to-face or in person. That way you can gauge their body language, how they're feeling, and you can ask more open-ended questions about how they are perceiving things, how you can help them manage their stress, and how we can lower their stress overall. You can also use brainstorming sessions to come up with different techniques and ideas that you can take back to the team to see what everyone thinks. Conflict can cause a lot of stress for different people. When the employee is in the conflict, they'll feel stressed out, overthink, and when other employees perceive the conflict, they can also feel like this is a negative environment, they don't want to be in the team, and they would just rather leave. But as a manager or leader, when you step in and you're good at conflict management, it makes a huge impact because employees know, one, you're going to address it. You know how to handle the situation, you're going to be fair, and it's not going to be left unsaid so that it festers into something really bad that cannot be solved. Give employees the opportunity to participate in decision-making that affects their jobs. Get employees' input when it comes to workload, processes, work rules, anything that impacts them directly, because it's great for them to have a voice, to know what is going on, and that they can object if they do not believe in the change or the rules coming up. If you leave it and you make all the decisions and you never ask an employee, that can be based on your management and leadership style, but I would caution against that. You don't have to involve everyone in the decision making. You can always have the final say, but do get input from others to ensure that you understand how people feel, if it is a practical decision, and how you're going to implement it. Avoid unrealistic deadlines. As a manager and a leader, you have a lot of power when it comes to this. So make sure that you are using that power responsibly, that you are speaking to the employees to see if they can meet those deadlines and what they need in order to get the job done. Clarify your expectations. It means that you clearly define the employees' roles, responsibilities, and goals. Make sure that managers are fair and that they are consistent throughout the organization. Also, that they represent the organization's values. Employees can feel that it is unfair if they don't know the expectations from the manager. So you tell them that you are not someone that micromanages and you want employees to just do what they feel is right. Then when they do it and you're not happy with the outcome. So rather be clear and say, yes, I'm not someone who micromanages, but I have the following tools for you guys. I would like it by the following date. So you have a clear process, expectations are set, and then when you follow up, you are fair. So let's look at some tools that you can use as a manager and leader to help your employees when it comes to stress management. This section is going to look at the different types of stress employees deal with. According to Tutorial Point, based on experts, there are 5 models that explain workplace stress. The first model we will look at is the personal environment model. According to this model, a person starts to feel stress in a job where his aptitude, skills, abilities, and resources are not in line with the necessities of that job. The employee can feel like a misfit or that they don't belong if they don't have the necessary skills, aptitude, and ability. And because of this, the person can become very, very stressed out. They can become defensive or just shut down overall. So when you are appointing someone, make sure that you are testing all of these things and that you have a training program and give them enough time to get comfortable. If someone is lacking a skill, you can always upskill them, but you have to have a program where they feel like they won't just get fired if they are honest, and that you have a long-term plan for this employee. Out of all of the types, I think this one is some of the easiest stress types to fix. You can see what the employee has and what they need, and based on that, just create a long-term plan. Next up, This model proposes that for an employee to be successful in any job, he or she needs to have some degree of autonomy, and that he or she should be able to give feedback and that feedback is accepted. Such conditions result in job enrichment and employee loyalty. When these factors are absent, then productivity drops. So when someone feels like they have a good degree of knowledge, experience, and they are sharing their feedback, when the feedback is not accepted by management or the peers, this employee will start to get stressed out. So our first type, they get stressed out if they don't feel good enough. They feel like a misfit. Our second type, the employee doesn't feel heard, and because of that, they are stressed. Continuing on. This model makes a distinction between stressful job conditions and individual strain. The strains can be mental, physical, or emotional, and most of the time, these strains change from person to person. The most common issues are things like excessive workload, disagreeable workplace environments, lack of autonomy, difficult relationships with co-workers, lack of career growth, low chances of personal growth while working, and harassment from management. This type of stress happens when there is a difference of job demands and resources. This is caused when a company gives managers very high expectations and results that they need to achieve, but really low resources. And it can also be for your employees. So in other words, people get extremely uncomfortable and stressed out when what is demanded of them cannot be realistically achieved with what is given. This model focuses on the relation between effort and rewards. When employees put in hard work, they expect management to reward that effort. When a company does not have reward programs and the employees do not feel recognized, they will get demotivated and they will actively underperform. It is not enough in today's world to expect good output from employees as just being part of the job. Companies that think they are entitled to good output just because they pay them see that employees are not happy, they want to leave their job, and ultimately over time, these employees will start to underperform. So we need more companies to invest in their employees and creating reward systems. In this next section, we're going to look at workshops and activities that you can host for your team. So our first activity is help from colleagues. So according to Trainers Warehouse, this exercise works best with a team who already work with each other. You can use it through a half day or after lunch. Get everyone to write their name on the top of a piece of paper. Then add the following. What I need my colleagues to do when I am stressed, ... So you need them to complete the form. Next, what I need my colleagues not to do when I am stressed. This is a great opportunity for employees to share their stress process with their colleagues, and you can also see what to do and not to do when someone is stressed. The information is collected and every member of the team is given a copy for future reference. It creates a huge turnaround and teams start to better understand each other. The understanding that occurs through discussions in this workshop is amazing because people recognize very quickly what the different needs from the different individuals are. And you can also see that there are overlapping systems or ways that people deal with stress. Next, take your stress temperature. So this is a workshop by asking participants to put a dot. You can use a red circle sticky with a thermometer drawn on a flip chart that represents their stress level as they begin the workshop. At the bottom right, centered and calm, and on the top right, about to explode. Add other descriptions as you see fit. At the end of the workshop, I asked them to place a blue dot on the same thermometer for their current stress level. It's interesting to see the shift towards the bottom of the thermometer. I emphasize that it doesn't take a lot of techniques to better manage stress. And when we are stressed, we need to practice these techniques as we may forget, and as a result, your stress goes up. So this is a really nice way to start a stress management workshop where people start off with, and at the end of the workshop, where people are at, and then they can use it throughout the day. So you can always reference that back to tell them, Can you explain where your stress level is at and then the techniques that they can use to bring it down again? Mindfulness meditation has shown to reduce anxiety and even change your brain. Turns out the more you meditate, the less stress hormone will be in your bloodstream, and therefore you will be much more relaxed. You'll be getting more peace of mind, literally. So you don't have to shell out big bucks for meditation or getting a practitioner. No, you can look at your community or a local yoga studio to find someone that can lead your team in meditation. Or maybe you have someone who's already doing it and you can ask that person, one of your employees, to lead your team. You can start off with as little as 10 minutes of meditation as a team to get everyone in the right mindset, as stated according to When in Work. Finally, our last stress management activity is 6 in every 1 rule. Think back to the last time you gave an employee critical feedback. Now, think back to the last time you gave them some praise. Most likely, the negatives stand out more than the positives, and they also do for your employees. A little negative feedback can go a long way and have more lasting effects than a usual job well done. In fact, researchers have found that the biggest indicator of a team's success isn't necessarily their expertise or skill set. It's their ratio of negative to positive comments to each other. On average, the most successful teams provide 6 positive comments for every single negative one. That may seem a lot, but negative comments tend to be ones that we internalize and recall the most. That is why creating a 6-to-1 ratio in your team is so effective. You can create a process where you guys have a workshop and you look for 1 negative feedback and then 6 other people have to give a positive feedback system. It's a good way for people to express themselves, give feedback themselves so they can try it out, and then build each other up. Then just some housekeeping. Feel free to change up your lesson schedule and review your old lessons. You can also go check out your toolkit items for more lesson content. This lesson challenge is all about you. Figure out what is causing you stress. Use your strategic thinking skills to look at different ways that you can relieve some of this stress that you currently have. Then your progress. Well done for making it to lesson 6 of this module. Please feel free to email me at support@showacademy.com if you need any support. And with that, it brings me to the end of this lesson. Wayne Dyer said, "You cannot always control what goes on outside, but you can always control what goes on in the inside." Have a great day, and I hope that this helped you a bit with your stress management.